The case of D.B. Cooper remained one of the most intriguing and unsolved mysteries in crime's history. D.B. Cooper in 1971 hijacked a commercial airplane, extorted a large ransom, and then parachuted into the wilderness, disappearing without any trace.
D.B. Cooper, who he most likely is. The case of America's most famous skyjacking has remained unresolved for 52 years, baffled the FBI and the public, and piqued the interest of amateur detectives and conspiracy theorists for decades. Due to the absence of concrete evidence, reliance on eyewitness testimony, and James Bond-style parachute escape, the enigma of D.B. Cooper has become an American legend. Will the identity of this infamous sky pirate ever be revealed? What happened on that day? Who are the main suspects? And which one of our two main suspects are you, the Bad Things crew, going to choose as the most likely to be D.B. Cooper?
On the 24th of November of 1971, a man using the name Dan Cooper boarded in a flight from Portland to Seattle. Then Cooper calmly handed a note to a flight attendant, revealing that he had a bomb and demanding $200,000 and parachutes. Then the ransom was delivered and the passengers were released, but Cooper remained the same, and then during the flight he parachuted into the rugged terrain of the Pacific Northwest, never to be seen again.
36 passengers got off the jetliner in Seattle last night, left aboard 4 crew members and the hijacker, dressed in a business suit, demanding $200,000 and carrying a plain briefcase which he told the crew held explosives. With the full ransom collected from Seattle banks and 4 parachutes aboard, the plane headed for Reno. It took 3.5 hours, slow for a jet, but the hijacker had given detailed flight instructions. The rear stairwell was open all the way. It arrived at Reno in shreds. The crew, here being debriefed by the FBI, was told to fly low over Oregon's flatlands with the flaps down. The speed dropped to 200 miles per hour. Somewhere, the hijacker parachuted away with the money.
The FBI launched an extensive investigation into D.B. Cooper's case, but despite numerous leads and interviews, his true identity remains unknown. The case sparked countless theories, ranging from Cooper's survival and also the escape of potential death in the wilderness, and many speculated about Cooper's expertise in parachuting and his knowledge at the local terrain, suggesting a level of planning and a level of skill.
Your logic would indicate that this man was very familiar with a lot of things. The stalling speed of the airplane, if, and I am assuming from what I've heard, that he told them what speed to fly, what altitude, 15-degree flaps, etc., etc. So I'm assuming that he knew quite a bit about the airplane. If so, he must be well aware of jump procedure. So maybe he's a skydiver, I don't know.
The D.B. Cooper's case captured the public's imagination, and inspiring books, documentaries, and films that sought to unravel the mystery and the enigmatic nature of Cooper's disappearance, and the audacity and his crimes made him a cultural icon, and also representing rebellion and the pursuit to an elusive freedom. The legend of D.B. Cooper continues to captivate people's fascination with unsolved crimes and extraordinary escapes.
On November 24, 1971, a middle-aged man boarded a plane flying from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington, carrying a briefcase and wearing a dark suit and sunglasses. His ticket, which was paid for in cash, identified him simply as Dan Cooper. The nondescript man did little to draw attention to himself as the plane boarded, aside from ordering himself soda. However, once the plane was in the air, Cooper signaled for the flight attendant, a young woman named Florence Schaffner, and handed her a note. At first, Schaffner thought nothing of it, as she believed he was simply a businessman attempting to flirt with her by giving her his phone number. She slipped the paper into her pocket and might have forgotten all about it. However, when Schaffner passed by again, the man made a motion to get her attention. He leaned toward her and quietly told her she had better read the note because he had a bomb on board. He then opened his briefcase to show Schaffner a glimpse of batteries, wires, and red sticks contained inside. Schaffner delivered the note to the plane's captain with a transcribed list of Cooper's demands: 2 front parachutes, 2 back parachutes, $200,000 cash, and a fuel truck waiting for them at the Seattle airport to refuel the plane. Cooper demanded the note back from Schaffner after it had been read by the pilot, so its exact wording has never been recorded, although some witnesses do remember that it contained the phrase, "no funny business." The pilot contacted air traffic control, who urged the flight crew to comply with Cooper's demands. The plane then circled around the Seattle airport for 2 hours while authorities scrambled to meet all of the ransom note's demands. Cooper was true to his word, allowing the flight's 36 passengers to leave the plane safely in exchange for the 4 parachutes and $200,000 worth of $20 bills. With the ransom demands met, Cooper then ordered the plane to take off again en route to Mexico City with only himself, the pilot, and first officer, a flight engineer, and a flight attendant left on board. Per Britannica, D.B. Cooper also demanded that the pilot fly low and slow at just 10,000 feet and less than 200 knots. Around 8 p.m., Cooper lowered the rear steps and took a daring leap out of the plane somewhere over southwestern Washington, never to be seen or heard from again.
Following D.B. Cooper's hijacking, there were several copycat incidents where individuals attempted similar acts of extortion and airplane hijacking. These events highlighted the impact and notoriety of Cooper's crime, perpetuating his legend, and furthermore, the case led to increased security measures in the aviation industry, including improved protocols to responding to hijackings.
On November the 29th, 5 days after the hijacking, the Reno Evening Gazette received a letter claiming to have been from the man himself. Attention, thanks for the hospitality, was in a rut. D.B. Cooper. A second letter followed on December the 2nd, handwritten. I enjoyed the Grey Cup game. I'm leaving Vancouver. Thanks for the hospitality. D.B. Cooper. A third letter would then follow. I'm alive and doing well in hometown PO, the system that beats the system. D.B. Cooper. Yet another letter would arrive at the Reno Evening Gazette on December the 3rd. Plan ahead for retirement income. D.B. Cooper. This was the last vague letter sent. However, 3 weeks after the hijacking, a much more detailed one came in the hands of the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, and the Seattle Times. Sirs, I knew from the start that I wouldn't be caught. I didn't rob Northwest Orient because I thought it would be romantic, heroic, or any of the other euphemisms that seem to attach themselves to situations of high risk. I'm no modern day Robin Hood. Unfortunately, do have only 14 months to live. My life has been one of hate, turmoil, hunger, and more hate. This seemed to be the fastest and most profitable way to gain a few fast grains of peace of mind. I don't blame people for hating me for what I've done, nor do I blame anybody for wanting me to be caught and punished, though this can never happen. Here are some, not all, of the things working against the authorities. I'm not a boasting man. I left no fingerprints. I wore a toupee. I wore putty makeup. They could add or subtract from the composite 100 times and not come up with an accurate description, and we both know it. I've come and gone on several airline flights already, and I'm not holed up in some obscure backwards town. Neither am I a psychopathic killer. As a matter of fact, I've never even received a speeding ticket. Thank you for your attention. D.B. Cooper. As odd as these letters are, with the signed envelopes, they now had the evidence of his handwriting, if these were even in fact written by the hijacker.
Numerous theories have emerged, such as regarding the true identity of D.B. Cooper, and some speculate that Cooper was an experienced skydiver or military veteran, and also, given his familiarity with parachuting and survival techniques, others believe that he may have had inside knowledge of the airplane industry, and some suspects have included individuals ranging from former military personnel to ordinary citizens with criminal backgrounds, but no conclusive evidence has surfaced to confirm any of these claims.
FBI had already begun to investigate a few potential suspects. Among them was a man in Portland with initials DB and surname Cooper. This Cooper was quickly eliminated as a suspect, but due to a mix-up by the press, the name Dan Cooper was confused for DB Cooper, and the rest is history. Kenneth Christensen first became a suspect in 2003 when his brother noticed certain parallels between him and Cooper. Christensen had briefly served as a paratrooper in World War II, and since 1953 he'd worked for Northwest Airlines as both a mechanic and a flight attendant. He was 45 years old at the time of the hijacking. He was left-handed, which Cooper might have been. William Smith first became a suspect in 2018. Smith served in the Navy during World War II and likely had some experience with parachuting. He was 43 years old at the time of the hijacking. He had dark brown eyes. He matched the physical description. He shared a certain likeness with the composite sketches, especially this speculative sketch of an older DB Cooper.
After decades of the incident, the DB Cooper case remains an unsolved mystery despite extensive investigations, including the examination of physical evidence and the analysis of Cooper's unique modus operandi, and the true identity and the fate of DB Cooper remains elusive, and the case continues to generate public interest, and occasional leads and sightings are reported, reigniting hope for breakthrough that finally unravel the mystery.
Let us now move on to a thesis that was claimed by one of the high-ranking FBI officers, whose name is Larry Carr. This officer stated that DB Cooper didn't make it when he jumped. At first, the FBI thought that Cooper was a professional paratrooper, but in reality, it turned out the opposite because he chose the worst type of parachutes they gave him. If he was a professional, he would not have jumped in those bad weather conditions, so the FBI became convinced that Cooper was a bad paratrooper. The problem in this thesis is that they hadn't found any trace of his body. How could he vanish without leaving any trace, despite the fact that the FBI calmed the drop zone? This thesis was supported by the bundles of money found in a far area from the forest. They were most likely taken by the river to the area in which they were found. The question is why there was no trace of the money that Cooper took but those 3 bundles, and it hadn't been used before anywhere else, and had never been found. The probable answer is that these 3 bundles were in the suitcase, and they coincidentally got out of it at that edge of the river, and the suitcase kept floating. It was a large river that passed through the forest where Cooper jumped. Previously, we stated that Cooper chose the worst type of parachutes. He chose the uncontrollable one. As soon as it is opened, the wind decides your destiny. Most likely, Cooper didn't manage to take control of the parachute. He fell down the river, drowned, and then the river pulled him along with the suitcase and everything he had.
During the first year of the investigation, the FBI used eyewitness testimony from passengers and flight crew to develop sketches of Cooper, and the first sketch, officially titled Composite A, was completed a few days after the hijacking and was released on the 28th of November of 1971. And according to witnesses, the Composite A sketch, jokingly known as Bing Crosby, was not an accurate likeness of Cooper. The Composite A sketch, said witnesses, showed a young man with a narrow face and also did not resemble Cooper capture and his disinterest also. And let's get over with the look. Flight attendant Florence Schaffner repeatedly told the FBI that the Composite A sketch was a different poor likeness of Cooper. And after multiple eyewitnesses said that Composite A was not an accurate rendering, FBI artists developed a second composite sketch, completed in late 1972, and the sketch Composite B sketch was also intended more accurately depicting Cooper's age, skin tone, and face shape, and also eyewitnesses to whom Composite B was shown that the sketch was more accurate, but the Composite B Cooper looked too angry, or let's say too aggressive, And also one flight attendant said the composite B sketch looked like a hoodlum, and they remembered Cooper as more refined in appearance. And also, moreover, said witnesses that the composite B sketch depicted a man older than Cooper with a lighter complexion.